Hi everybody, my name is Jude Sullivan. Again, welcome to Don't Overpay. I'm with my friend Aaron Perry, and we're here to talk about an idea that's near and dear to his heart, and a unique way that he's bringing a healthcare concept to the underserved and to the forgotten people in the area. And so Aaron and I have gone back a long ways together. We've worked professionally and we have a personal relationship as well. But I'm just so impressed with what this idea is that I felt like it was really important that we get it out to the public. And so as you're listening to what is being discussed today, I really encourage you to share. If you like what you see, share with people who may have an interest in this, people who could maybe connect with Aaron through channels that maybe could help him get this idea out and create even greater traction than what he's been doing pretty much as a one-man show right now, right? So Aaron's been an inspiration to me in a variety of ways, and I think you'll find out why as we go through this conversation together. So Aaron, thanks again for your time.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So again, just so you know, we've been working a long time to try to make this happen, and he's been so busy with his regular job in protective services that it's just been very difficult to make it happen. So again, I'm glad that we could do this, and I really hope for good things to come from it. Yeah. So why don't we just get started?
Yeah.
So. As I mentioned, Aaron and I, we go well back together as he started in the sport of triathlon. So why don't we just start there about how we first came together, and we can kind of just bring it to the present day.
Yeah, you know, it all started really when Ironman came to Madison. For 4 years, and I know I've talked to you about it, for 4 years I would go down every year and watch the Ironman. Year after year, the desire, it just grew and grew and grew because I wanted to do it. But I was convinced that I couldn't do it because I was diabetic. And just year after year, I would just go out and I would run, I would bike. You can forget swimming because I didn't know how to swim.
Right.
But you know, I would go out and I would run a couple of miles and I'd think, wow, just the run alone is 26.2 miles. I'm not going to be an Ironman. Then I would try the following year, get on the bike about 10 miles, completely fatigued. I'm not going to be an Ironman. Swimming is that. The bike is 112 miles, but you know that desire just kept growing and growing, and I finally started talking to people in the community. And that's when your name came up. I was talking with Ramona, and I was talking about my desire to want to do the Ironman. And she said, you know, I got a good trainer. You should meet him. And, you know, she put us in contact. And really that's, I believe, when it really started to take off, because you had this confidence in me that I just didn't have. I didn't really know what to expect. But just meeting with you and talking to you about my challenges, talking about really how do you make high endurance training come together with diabetes, and you know that was really a fear of mine. But you know, you laid this program out initially when we started. I thought I'm never going to be an Ironman with this training program. I'm just going so slow, and you kept saying, Aaron, stay focused on the training. It will pick up. And you know, again, I'm doing the training that you laid out, and it started to pick up.
Yeah.
And when it started to pick up, I was no longer saying, Jude, this is not working, this is too light. But Jude, slowly, training, hour that you put in, the training started, and with every week I started to get just a little more confident. There was setbacks along the way, but
as there always are.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. But more than anything, I just started to realize that, you know what, just follow the training, trust in your trainer, and let's just see what happens. And so as we started to go on, you know, all of a sudden I'm doing, 1 hour bike, following that up with a 45-minute run. And in the beginning, it started to, it was a little challenging. But then I noticed that it started to get easier. And then I started to call you, Jude, I need you to, this needs to pick up. And you kept saying, Aaron, calm down. And that's the neat thing about you, Jude, is that one of the things that I describe to people when I talk about Jude, I said, this his mannerisms, and he's a man of, he's very soft-spoken, but if you pay attention to what he's saying, he will get you to the finish line. I tell the people that all the time. But again, I had to take my own advice.
Yeah.
And so as we started to go on, I tell you, probably the first couple of months of the training, I thought it was very easy, but then it started to pick up. And that's when a lot of the challenges of being diabetic started to come in. There was times that I had the low blood sugar reactions because now I'm picking up the training. And that's when we started to talk a little bit about the nutritional aspect. And so I started to really pay attention to my body. And that was probably really the first time that I actually had to say, you know what, if I am going to be an Ironman, I have to put all facets of this together. And there was times when I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was literally I called your training program the Bible. So I started following the Bible. And they said, if you don't read the Bible,
Right on.
And I started following it, but Jude, the strange thing, it started to come together. All of a sudden, the weight started coming off. That was my biggest concern at one point. The weight started coming off. I started getting in the water. Very fearful of water. I believe that had to do when I was 5 years old. I had a near drowning experience.
Wow.
And so that was really hard to overcome. But again, I stayed with the training. And then the other part that I started to notice was my A1C, which was dangerously high. It was 11.3 at one point.
Wow.
That is a clear indication that I'm not controlling my diabetes,
Yeah.
it's controlling me. And I started to see that number come down. It went from 11.3, 9.3, I think it got down to 8, then all of a sudden it's to 7. And the strange thing happened, and I know I'll fast forward a little bit, the last 3 months of my Ironman training leading up to Ironman, I took no medication. I was completely medication free. As a matter of fact, I would test, it was always normal. When I did give myself insulin, my blood sugars dropped so dangerously low. We're talking like 45. And so I started to back off, but that was kind of the conclusion of what this whole year of training was. But again, Jude, I just, I stuck with it. Even when you laid out the first 2 events, we were going to do a sprint triathlon. Then we did the half Ironman.
Yeah.
I did the sprint triathlon. Again, it was my very first triathlon ever.
Right. Yeah.
I kicked butt. You know what? I kicked butt, and to see the videotape of that, I'm looking at this person on this tape doing this triathlon. Now I see the fear in his face, but his physique was like, wow, this training stuff is working. And again, I just after the first triathlon, it was the Quad Cities triathlon. I'm like, wow, I knocked it out. I mean, it was a very successful first time out. The following week, I was going to take on the Aurora High Club half Ironman, and I just remember shooting you a call. Again, you had laid the training out. It was all I had to do was follow it. But I just remember getting up to Appleton and looking at the swim course, and now the fear sets in again, because a sprint triathlon, 400-yard swim is a little different than a 1.2 mile.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? I kept hearing your voice in my head, Aaron, stay true to your training.
Yeah.
Don't try to do too much. and certainly don't do too little, but just stay true to your training. And I just remember getting in the water. I was probably, I want to say, you know, in the top maybe 500 to actually get in the water and start to swim. And I just remember as I'm swimming in this massive lake and I'm looking around and I realized I'm completely by myself. I was okay with that because I'm still doing it, you know. And that was probably the first time that I realized that I'm in competition with no one but myself.
Right.
And again, the video is clear. I'm literally slow. I'm very slow swimming. But you know, I just remember coming around that last buoy, looking at my watch and thinking, okay, I completed a 1.2 mile swim.
Yeah.
I get out of the water, I test my blood sugars, slightly elevated, but still in a range where I didn't feel like I needed to, you know, take a lot of sugar. But now I have the 56-mile bike.
Right.
And again, I just keep hearing this voice in my head, stay with your training, stay with your training. And so I just remember getting on the bike, I'm going up this massive hill right away. And you know what, I stuck with the training. Driving those pedals down, trying not to do too much.
Right.
Definitely don't want to do too little.
Oh yeah.
And you know, it just, before long I look up, man, and I'm already at mile 40.
Yeah.
And I'm coming back to the park. But I just remember coming into the park and finishing the bike. And now I feel really good, but I'm still worried, you know, thinking that I'm not supposed to feel this good. But again, that voice in my head, stay true to the training. And so you get off the bike, and now I got 13.1 mile run. It was the fastest half marathon I've ever run.
Yeah.
And again, it was extremely hot. I believe it was about 87 degrees that day.
Yeah. Wow.
It was very hot. I was now paying attention to my body. How is my body feeling? You know, do I need to eat right now? You know, when you get to the aid station, do you want the Gatorade or do you want the water? So, you know, you start to think about all these things. And again, that voice, stay with your training. And once I came back to the voice, then that's when I had success. And so the next thing I know, I'm coming down to the finish line and I hear this guy say, Aaron Perry from Madison, you know, half Ironman under my belt.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those moments where I could not have gotten there by myself, you know. That's when you realize, and by then I am completely dependent on my trainer, you know. Now I'm doing the work, and you always said that, Aaron, you're doing the work, I'm just providing this map for you.
Yeah.
But you realize that I'm completely dependent on my trainer and, you know, just focusing on everything. So now I have 2 months left before Ironman, and that's what we started all of this for.
Yep.
And again, it was just the training picked up a little bit. You know, now I look back at where we started, whereas before I would run maybe a 3 mile run and I'm extremely fatigued. All of a sudden I'm 3 months from Ironman and we're gonna run a 10 to 15 mile run. We're gonna do an 80 mile bike ride. I mean, this is where my head was at. And now I'm up to the challenge, you know. I am saying, you know what, I think I might be an Ironman, but I'm still a little nervous about it because again, I'm still, you know, don't know what the day is going to bring.
That's right, yeah.
But more than anything, what I started hearing from my family, from people in the community, they were saying things like, Aaron, man, you're starting to look fit. Your skin, you know, what are you drinking? Your skin is clear. You know, people were saying, you know, I'll never forget this one lady. She said, Aaron, baby, is that you? She said, the last time I saw you, your face broke out, you were all fat. Now look at you. And I'll never forget it. I'm like, how can you insult somebody and then make them feel good all at the same time?
Yeah.
But I just...
Was that a compliment?
Yeah, you know, but more than anything, you hate to start to measure this by how you look, but it's just part of the training. When you start putting the training in, you know, your body changes. When you start eating the right things, your body changes. When you start getting rest, that's the one thing that I can say. I was pretty much a 4-hour a night person. You know, I get my 4 hours, I was rested. Now my body is demanding, you know, 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And again, it all came together. But again, it wasn't until the actual day of the Ironman. And that's when I started hearing people talking about, you know, hey, you could potentially be the world's first African American diabetic to ever do this. And I thought about it, but I was so focused on my training. And by then, Jude, your training got me to a point like I really felt like I was a machine. I mean, literally, I felt like I was a machine. Today, I reflect back on that, and I was a machine.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you get to a point where your life is laid out for you. You go to work, you got your training program. This is what you're going to eat. When you can put it together like that,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I had.